Welcome to Expedient Means with Lin Wei on Tomahawk Radio. Lin currently resides in China and is the founder and head teacher of Guaizhen Philo-Cultural Society. His extensive experience in Buddhist and Taoist meditation, Qigong, martial arts, and traditional Chinese medicine. To learn more about Lin, please visit his website at www.guizhenhui.net. Tonight, Lin will be speaking about using adversity as an expedient to cultivation.
Yes.
Welcome back, Lin.
Oh, yeah. Adversity as the expedient. And you want to know why we're going to use adversity as the expedient?
So what you're saying is adversity doesn't suck?
No, it doesn't suck. I mean, it may taste bad once in a while. But you know, when everything's just going all nice and well during your day and just somebody spits on your shoe. Or like throws a cigarette on your clothes by accident, or pushes you and you fall down the stairs, break
That's
a leg.
You're supposed to haul off and smack them, right?
That's when, when you're flying down the stairwell, you go into the Om and you start floating over the stairwell, laughing at the guy who's looking at you after pushing you with his jaw dropped open, going, "Ah!" Just kidding. No, adversity, anything that's against you. Anything that brings you what you would consider to be suffering, okay, that's what we're going to utilize. Anything that brings you discomfort, impatience, or frustration, anger, excuse me, that makes you look down on yourself, makes you think bad about yourself, even makes other people think bad about you, okay? And even other people talking bad about you, using all these things that we face every single day, from the things I just said to everything else I haven't said that you can think of that it bothers you, we're going to use that. That's the ingredients to our soup. It's going to be a very good soup too. Excuse me. So,
as I said before in our discussion on diet, the Chinese, the Taoist diet consists of salty, sweet, bitter, sour. And one more, I can't remember the fifth, but yeah. So to make the perfectly balanced diet, you have to have all those ingredients.
acrid, maybe?
Yeah, it could
Acrid
be.
flavor?
Bitter, sweet, sour, salty, and spicy.
Spicy. Yeah, well, a lot of those things have a good physical benefit, an energetic benefit onto the body, and sometimes they may not be very helpful. I mean, I don't eat spicy foods because it drives my liver all over the place. My liver energy just rises, goes crazy. Get very tired, very hot, and very uncomfortable. So those spices can be used, hot and spicy can be used for certain ailments to a degree. Maybe can loosen up a lot of phlegm in the lungs and do a lot of other things. I cannot use that method, so I use a different method. So people are like, you're missing out so much. And I go, oh, is that such a bad thing? Oh, it's such a bad thing because you're missing on such great flavors when you can eat spice and all that wonderful hotness. And I go, okay, it's my turn to use this as an expedient means to cultivation. To not be overtaken by the things around you. So, for example, something adverse, something that brings you discomfort. It could be any type of discomfort, physical discomfort, emotional discomfort, mental discomfort, okay? Anything. We face it every day in our lives. So for the listeners here, anything you can think of, and if you can't think of anything, just try to remember what you've gone through before or what you would not want to experience now.
If they can't think of anything, they should consider themselves pretty lucky, I guess.
Well, they can consider themselves pretty comfortable, but you won't know the extent of your ability unless you have something out there to pressure you. You really won't. And it doesn't mean go out there and get into an argument with someone to see if you can control your anger. No, I wake up today nice and peaceful and say, I want to see if I can lose my peaceful state. You walk out the door, you see the mailman, or you see the guy delivering the newspaper, and you tell him to go, go to hell, go F yourself or whatever. And he's like, what? And he curses you back, and you curse at him back, and then it becomes a full-out brawl. And if you're still smiling like, oh, this is a beautiful day with no anger in your heart, okay. But if you're sitting there going, why did I do this for? Oh, my God. There's a problem. There's a problem that you did it in the first place. But the fact that you can't handle it is another one. We could go to that silly extreme, but it's just let's take something simple. Um, Something that just bothers you, general thing, like you're walking in the street, maybe a car doesn't see you or doesn't really choose to respond to the fact that there's someone walking across the street and you have the right of way, and for them the cars have to stop, and he decides he's going to stop well into the crosswalk and like get very very close to your legs. Usually you would probably jump back or get still, like freeze in your spot, and then once that moment of oh my god I almost got run over goes away, and that fear goes away, you start getting angry. What the hell's wrong with you? Your anger turns up because you're looking to protect yourself. Yeah, there's a fear of losing, a fear of death, and then the someone is doing this to me. But then again, the anger covers up the fact that you weren't watching where you were going, and then you want the other person to take responsibility for you not watching. But then the other person gets angry at you for not taking for not watching him. So he's like, you're retarded, you're stupid, you should have been watching where I'm going. That's basically what he's trying to say. He don't want to take responsibility for slowing down or for not slowing down, and for having coming so close to actually hit the person. So both people are covering up their own problem, their own inability to remain mindful of their surroundings and respect for each other. So one person who's almost getting hit gets angry and has to show his anger so he can say, I don't want anybody to think I'm stupid for not watching. I almost got hit by a car. I could have jumped out of the way if I was watching, or maybe I wouldn't go forward and other people are going to think that. So they don't think that. Let me get angry and cover that up and let people know how strong I am or how aggressive I can be to such a person and make that person feel stupid when the other person's thinking the exact same thing, just in a different way.
It's basically an ego defense mechanism.
Yes. So, if we are cultivators of the way and we're saying, I got to watch my mind at all times, or at least watch when things get a little haywire and the situation happens to you and the car comes very close, then you freeze for a split second, but then everything becomes relaxed, normal, back again, and you look, you didn't get hit. The other guy looks at you, waiting for you to scream and yell, and he doesn't see you screaming and yell, or she doesn't scream you screaming and yelling, and just smiles and goes, sorry, sorry. And you go, it's okay, no problem. And you go on your way and as though it never happened. And in your mind, you're going, I'm glad I didn't get hit. I got to be more mindful of my surroundings. So you use the bad situations to say, instead of getting angry and burning myself out and having to display a sense of aggression and superiority over the situation and over the other person for what I believe they should have been doing, because they're thinking, they believe I should be doing something and not seeing that they could be taking mindfulness as their friend and watching how they're driving. It could go both ways. So instead of arguing and screaming and burning out myself with anger, I can turn this backwards, turn it back in and say, I have to be more mindful. I have to watch where I'm going. If I'm listening to music, if I'm talking on the phone or texting while I'm walking, I got to be really careful of where I'm going. I don't want to get run over. Okay, so you turn this, what could be a negative situation, into a way for, excuse me, tempering your patience. Because you can lose patience very quickly in a situation like that. Some people get very angry, some people become very fearful, and you don't want to be either or. That's one way of turning the situation. So it's taking whatever brings uncomfortableness to you, whatever brings discomfort, changing it to let you understand how you react to those situations. And then you can find the cause of that reaction and realize, well, if I reacted in a negative way or a depressed way or an angry way or a self-conscious way or a low self-esteem kind of way or a very joyful way, what could be my outcomes? You have to investigate these things. Are these tools you want to utilize? Because we say in cultivation, in practice, we say being angry, I believe the Buddha said this, being angry is like taking poison, or being angry at someone is like taking poison and wishing that person to die. So you are the only one that gets burned by that poison. You're the only one that gets burned by anger. Your heart, physically, your heart has problems. Then the rest of the body follows. The blood pressure rises. It rises up to the head. If you have a little bit of a problem, it may become a little bit of a bigger problem. Anger causes death. It burns you out. Some people say it's okay to express your anger. If you don't become attached to it, it becomes a method in which to teach someone what they're doing is wrong.
What about illness?
Well, being good. Having a sickness, we have to utilize that. And the way we utilize that for cultivation is understanding it's a process of whatever it is. So if it's a nerve problem, if it's a cellular problem, if it's an organ problem, or whatever the case may be, we have to understand how our reaction is with that thing. We may not be able to cure it per se. I mean, some have, but it doesn't mean one or everyone will be able to with what the method is. Depends on the person itself. But regardless of there being a cure or being able to do so, how do you place your mind when facing such sickness? Okay.
Yeah, you could basically give in and say, well,
Giving
it's
up.
pointless to live, or yeah, throw in the towel type thing.
There you go. I was in China back in 2004 to 2008 for 4 years. And when I lived here in Taishan, in Shandong province, Tai Mountain, lived right at the foot of the mountain. So I would travel up the mountain almost constantly, maybe not walk the whole entire mountain, not climb the whole mountain, but just hike a little bit to some quiet areas and meditate and practice with some of my teachers at the time. And one day I was climbing up the very low part of the mountain. There's a little river behind me, really pretty. But walking up the incline became very straight, and I was already had a few pounds on my back, sleeping mat and whatnot. I started to fall backwards, but before my both feet got off, the front foot came off the ground, and I anchored it. I just thrusted it with my hip into the ground, and I was at a very wide forward stance, but an actual like a triangular pyramid stance, just one foot in, the other foot behind me, and my body was almost like a horizontal, so almost straight up and down, but my torso was pointing to literally straight across, like right over the ground, parallel to the ground. I managed to thrust my root and suction my feet into the ground, into the mountain, so I don't fall back and break my neck. Then when I went to move, I said, okay, I got to move. My right knee dislocated slightly. Well, dislocated. And the cartilage moved out and it was sticking outward. It didn't break the skin. It just pushed into the skin. You can see that it was not in right. I had to climb that mountain up to the walkway like that. And when I got
That
up there,
sounds painful.
yeah, it's probably about a 20 to 30-minute walk to my house. Let me think. No, about a 40-minute walk to my house, a 5-minute car ride, because it's really one straight strip. It's a shortcut strip. But you walk it, it's about 30 minutes. So I'm looking at this. I say, I got to walk this walkway back to the entrance or to the area where you walk onto in this side of the mountain. I said, that's a good 10, 15 minutes, and I have stairs. So I'm shaking my head, and I'm in pain. Like, I feel throbbing, and I'm in pain. Oh, well, there's no one walking this way. I mean, it's a walkway people can go. I just sit there, I look. I don't go, oh, crap. I just sit there, and I go, okay. I angle my leg in a certain way where I can press on the ball of my foot. Can I put the heel down to press on the ball of my foot in a certain, maybe like a 45-degree angle? I don't remember the angle, but at a certain angle, I was able to maintain some type of pressure without excruciating pain. Still feel pain, but not excruciating pain. I walked down that aspect of the mountain. Probably after the mountain, I walked an extra 10, 15 minutes to the street that can take me directly to my house. After that, I hopped in a cab, literally hopped in, got to my house, tied a belt around my leg, and I managed to put everything back into place. Just the mannerism of bone setting, I was able to do it. Not 100%, probably about 75% back properly. Then I just worked it by my hands over a few months, getting things back into place, and so far so good. Up to this point, I'm at about 90% okay. But anywho, I don't believe in surgeries for that. Sorry. I could have, but I believed in what I was going to do would be fine, and it's fine. So anywho, I could have sat there and scream and yell and go, "Holy Mother of God!" I just went going crazy and scream and cry and sit there waiting for someone or crawl or drag my body up and down the steps to find a way to get to a hospital or get to the house. But I use it as a way to cultivate patience. And even to this point, I'm not the most patient person in the world. I still have my instances of impatience. We're all cultivators, so that's what happens. But I am patient with, I don't know with what things. It just has to come. When it comes, I understand which it is, which mannerism it is. Then I'll be able to apply. But with that situation, did you hear that? My virus,
Yeah, I
my
did.
virus thing came up.
Just be patient with
Be
it.
patient with it. There you go. So at that point, I wanted to practice patience, and I said, I'm not gonna, think this is a terrible thing. That, oh my God, I'll never be able to practice martial arts again. I'm going to be disabled for it, and whatever. Or never be able to do standing practice or whatever. I'm able to, because be patient, and you'll understand how to do things better. So instead of the anger, the force that comes up with worry, it goes back down. It doesn't even arise, because you sit there and you be mindful. This is the situation. Any other thing added to it is just not going to be necessary. It's going to take away from you. That was my experience with the physical problem. Sicknesses and whatnot, I've had them too. Some not as bad as how other people may have it. So when you're facing sicknesses, it's always good to just not just to say accept this is what it is, or even say, why God, why do I have this? It's still not that way. It's simply just, I have this situation going on. You can sit there with all the Huato and say, who is the I that has this? And you can go that route and cultivate. But let's not go that way. Let's go over something very much straight up in our face, which is, this is what is. I have this problem. How can I go about my life with this situation influencing me? How can I utilize its influence? How can I utilize its influence in a way that can allow me to continue doing the things I do, if not doing other things, or things that I thought I would not do before? Okay, just because it's there doesn't mean you have to just be hopeless, or just forget everything and that's it. I grew up with a good friend of mine who had one arm and a half arm. She played football, basketball. In New York, we played handball, hide and seek, climbed trees. She fought people. She fought, rode bikes, rollerblading, played all the games that we all played with an arm and a half. No hand, just half an arm. She did everything we all did. And of course, she may have felt at times sad, but she realized she's still doing the things that we're doing, regardless of her ability, what people will call a disability. But she utilized it for her benefit or to keep her functioning. She says, it doesn't matter what I got. I can still type on the keyboard. So just have 5 less fingers. Who cares? I can still type with my fingers, and I'm pretty fast at it. And she still does things. She still works, does jobs, and does some modeling here and there, rides motorcycles, mopeds. She does all that stuff. So it's not that when we say we can't, we have to try harder. It's saying, I have this situation, I have this condition, or whatever the case is. How do I understand my reaction to it? And why should I allow this to be this way? My reaction, I mean. Why should I allow my reaction to be this way? Why would I allow myself to just think I'm terrible, or I can't do anything, or eventually I'm just going to get worse? If that's the way it is, fine. That's the way it's going to be. But in the meantime, you can apply a more, people call a more optimistic outlook, and utilize these things for your benefit.
I think too, when it comes to illnesses and stuff, you can use that as, I'm trying to think of the proper way to word this, but illnesses can be a way to wake you up, right? They can be a way. I mean, if everything's fine, you're feeling great, you got lots of money, you're just sort of living vicariously. You don't really have, well, a lot of people don't really have any interest in cultivation or they don't look at what the meaning of life is. But when you're facing an illness, it tends to highlight the impermanence of everything, and tends to put people more focused on why they're here and what's really important in life, I guess.
Yes. Totally yes, 100% right. When you have adversity, it's letting you know there are other options. This is the Buddha was talking about in the Four Noble Truths, or the Holy Truths, which I would like to bring up in another show another time. But it's saying, when you see suffering, when you see something that's adverse, when you see something that's opposite, you realize that there's the opposite of that thing too. And how do you get to that thing? And in cultivation, we want to go to, okay, there's suffering. Okay, so we want to go, how do I end suffering? Or where does the suffering come from? You can't end something unless you know where it is. Like a general does not go into war unless he knows where his enemies are. And if you go into war not knowing your enemies are, you're bringing everyone into a quick death. All your soldiers go to a quick death. So you want to know, what is the cause of the suffering? Like, how is this happening? Why are these people dying? Why are they getting sick? Or why am I getting old? Or why do I have this sickness? Why do I have this sickness? Why do I have this? Why do I have that? You're looking to the origin. Then you'll learn to find the ways to release yourself from it.
And a couple other things I've heard. I think it was Dr. Jerry Allen Johnson. He said one thing: when people become ill, they tend to drop attachments quicker. He just said, like when you're in a state of chronic illness or on the road to death, you don't worry about someone taking your shirt out of the laundry and wearing it, or this trivial things that sometimes people fret over, right?
Yes.
You tend to see through those
Pretty
things.
much at the highest point of our suffering, or the highest point of our despair, when we just let go of every single thing, we find the ability to change. We find a way to change. That's what the Buddha was saying. And that's what, the man you just mentioned is saying. Usually when there's something that really hurts one person, meaning a sickness or whatnot, they don't concern themselves with those trivial things or those small things that they would have before. They realize that that's not the important thing right now. If the person is dying, it's like, I'm dying. My physical body is dying. I'm not going to see my family again in this lifetime. If they don't believe in the next lifetime or whatnot, I'm never seeing my family again. My beloved wife or husband or child or dog or whatever. People consider animals dogs too. So, not animals dogs, animals family members.
Children.
As children too. Yeah. So they have all these attachments, and they're like, I'm not going to see them again. Well, let me make the best of my life while I'm still here. And they end up living longer than they would have if they kept on to the despair thoughts. These thoughts of despair and, oh, woe is me, I'm dying. Instead of living 20 years more with the sickness, they end up living only 5 years. Some people, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's another funny story by a teacher called Muji. I think I shared a couple links of his with you
Yeah.
last time we spoke. And one of the things he said is, I think he was discussing illnesses. Oh, I think it was Muji. It was either him or the Australian Buddhist Society. And they were discussing, how they'd gone and done, I don't know what you'd call it from a Buddhist term, but like go to see friends who were sick in the hospital, sick and dying, or sick with cancer or whatever. Mm. And then he said, since some of these people actually came out of it and got healed, and he said, and then they turned back into jerks afterward. And he said, I liked them a lot better when they were sick. They were much more humble. They were better, generally all around better people.
Yes. You see, when a person doesn't have that cultivation of being honest, being patient, being truthful, having things to hide, usually they are the ones who scream and yell for attention, scream and yell to have their way heard, scream and yell to be in a position of authority. And they are the ones who have most to hide as well. When they get sick, during the time of their sickness, they're usually the sweetest people. Oh, it's okay, don't worry. But when they get better, it's like, remember you did that? You son of a... Okay? Because people forget. They don't know how to cultivate. They go right back to the way it was. That's why it's better to preventative medicine than just curing or treating when the person is sick. You don't get the sickness. And if you got the sickness, you work on your attitude, you work on your lifestyle, you work on your mind, your person. And then if you get better, you'll be even better person than you were before, instead of going right back to the things that may have been the cause of your sickness.
So would you say you can use any adversity as an expedient?
Yes. Any single adversity whatsoever. It could be addictions, but the person with addictions, the person has to make that decision that I want to quit. You can't do it. Oh, I want to investigate my addiction, and you won't admit that, or you won't even go further as to say, okay, I find this stress now, let me quit. You have to make the choice first. You have to say, I'm done. Now, how do I utilize these withdrawals uh, to, overcome the mental anguish I'm going to face and the physical anguish I'm going to face from not having the specific thing that I'm addicted to? You know, it takes a lot of work. When it goes into other things, I mean, it's people that cause you problems. Um, you look at what they say as a means to investigate your own mind, your own self, or the own personality you have put out there to people. People call you a fraud, people call you stupid, arrogant, ignorant, or whatever. You say, am I really that way? Instead of getting angry, you stupid too, you're doing this, that. Now you actually are playing into what they do. You actually are the way they are. So you're actually proving what they say is true, even if it's not true. But you would just have the ability to be angry when someone says such things to you or about you, that you prove that they are saying something true, even if it's not.
I was kind of wondering if we could go maybe to. I tend to always bring him up, but Master. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank here. Master Zenhua's teacher, Master Shunyun.
Shuyun, yeah.
Shuyun. Yeah, because I think he's a classic example of how he used adversity to achieve enlightenment.
There you go. He could have just stayed where he was and not continued on his way to the temple to meditate, but he kept on going. It was just like, as a cultivator, okay, understand everyone, as a cultivator, don't think adversity means you're doing something wrong. Not necessarily. Adversity as a cultivator is a good thing. It's a teacher. It teaches you. Consider them to be outer demons. Okay? Your inner demons are just as powerful. Outer demons are there to say, hey, you're such a good person. Well, I'm going to make you not be a good person. I don't like the way you do this or that. So I'm going to make it as though people hate you. People don't like you or believe in you. I'm going to say such a thing. And you're going to go, oh my God, why? Why would you do such a thing? You're crazy. And then you want to fight back. But as a cultivator, you'll sit there and go, oh, this person's really ignorant. This person's really wasting their time. Okay, go ahead. You know what? Say all you want. It doesn't matter. It's okay. Like, it's totally okay. Because of the way you are, that's the only thing you can do. You don't have the ability to do anything else. So you use these things as a way to question yourself.
Question yourself and to cultivate patience, right?
Yes, patience. Patience, compassion, and wisdom. You need patience. And when you're practicing for patience, there's going to be things there to test it. That means you are practicing. If you're sitting there go, I'm a patient person, and not a damn thing happens to you every day, you get up, you go right to your job, you go right back home, you cook your food without any problem, you go take a shower without any problem, everything is all good. And you say, I'm the most patient person in the world. And then on your way out the door one day, it's raining, you walk in, someone drives their car right past the puddle and splashes you. And then you go, you son of a, and blah, 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 blah. Then you're angry and cursing up a storm, and you walk right back home and you change your clothes and you're all cursing and screaming and yelling, and you're on your way to work, and I had a bad day today, and blah blah blah. And then you go home and the next day and the day after, and then you meet up with your friends and like, how you doing? Everything is good, everything's fine. You're like, oh, nice life, you got a nice outlook and everything. You're such a patient person. I am. And then someone spills water on you, stupid, what's wrong with you? So only when there's no adversity, people think they got it. And when there's adversity, they realize they never had it. You need adversity to let you test what you got. So, for example, I can say I experienced being pretty patient with a lot of things. Sometimes I've purposely been impatient just to make points on people who are being ridiculous or being very ignorant and very harmful to themselves and people around them. So I will present an impatient mannerism to let them see this is what you do.
Like holding up a mirror to them, right?
Yes. And I'm perfectly clear in my heart, in my mind, that I am not like taking this to my heart going, oh, these guys are crazy. Oh, I'm not this way, and argue with these people. I sit there and go, I know I'm not what they say, but these people are being a negative influence around them, for the people around them. So I'm going to be a little impatient. I'm going to display a little aggression. I'm going to display a little bit of how they act, but I'm going to show them this way. And they go, you see, you're like that. So they try to turn it on. I go, no, no, no. You are actually like this, but you just can't take it when it's given to you. Now I understand the kind of person you truly are. So basically, we're basically saying, as a cultivator, you want to welcome adversity. You want it. It's like you're a piece of coal being tempered, being pressured to turn into a diamond, and a diamond is unbreakable. Well, at least so far. So you want that. It's very important. So as we're saying,
So
people making fun of you, talking about you, saying bad things. Understand, even Master Shuyun, if I believe correctly, had people who said bad things about him, said he was a child molester, okay, and wasn't a real Buddhist, or was an evil person and did things for money. Even people talked bad about him. Every time there's someone who stands out amongst the crowd, people talk bad about that person all the time.
I was gonna say, so when someone gets on the path to cultivation, um, I know we've had discussions about it before, that it tends to churn up some of your turbid karma type thing, and some of these things manifest maybe quite quickly.
Yeah, now we get into another level.
I guess.
It may be too much for some people, but we can touch on it real quickly. I mean, in a few sentences, I'll just say, in cultivation, because you're not entertaining so much the things you usually entertain, those things that have become habitual in your mind, okay, and the body has an habitual reaction to those things. That energy of those things become less; they become weakened. So what happens is, if we want to take it to the physical level, I think it's neurotransmitters. I'm not too great on this aspect, biology and nerves and stuff like that, but the body has a certain reaction and it doesn't have a stimulation, so it's going to start going haywire, and the mind has attaches to that kind of feeling, so it goes into a state of withdrawal too. So when you're sitting in meditation and you get these weird kinds of sensations or weird kinds of thoughts and feelings, that's telling you have this kind of karma, this kind of process going on in your mind, in your body, in your mind. So it's that kind of adversity would take you off your concentration, throw you off a little bit, and you can utilize that as well to say, okay, I know I have these problems. I got to focus harder. I got to change a little bit more of this direction of my practice, a little bit more of the other direction of my focus. Sometimes sicknesses can arise too, from our practice and cultivation. It's negative. Well, it can say on one hand, negative karma that was once held back, now having a free open street to run into, and cause havoc. Okay, and that causing havoc is kind of just like kind of clearing out what has happened. Instead of just saying the clearing out idea, you can say it's more of, because nothing is holding it back. Now it has free range. It has free
Coming to the surface.
Has coming to the surface, kind of like stirring the waters, and the dust at the bottom of the cup or the bottom of the river start to flow up because you see all the dust now floating around. That's what the sicknesses or other types of problems would be like,
Could it be part of your ego's defense mechanism too, maybe? Like if your ego feels threatened?
No, it doesn't take a mind to go, I'm going to kill you, or I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to cause sickness. It's okay, negative karma, it's not just that, or karma in general, it's not that it's stored in the body or floating around you somewhere. It's just the charge of the vibrational level of your mind, of your energy, of your mind, of your conscious state. That karma, okay, will attract or would have with it the conditions to manifest things you experience, whether good or bad. Okay, they're just conditions that would be experienced. We find them to be negative or positive. Okay, how we utilize them would be depend on our ability to understand the principle. Principle is who suffers. Then you can utilize that as a way to cultivate better.
All right. So aside from Master Shuyun, is there any other stories like that about? I'm sure there are.
Yeah, I mean,
about people who have achieved through suffering. I guess we all have in one respect or another.
I mean, like you said it very well before. When people have basically an easygoing life, enough money, everything's flows pretty well for them. Basically, we call it having the blessings to have fortune. No one cares to go and cultivate. They don't have a means. They don't have a reason for it. I don't remember too clearly, but there's a realm in our world system that they don't even know any of the teachings of the Buddha's teachings. They don't know anything about the Buddha Dharma, never heard or seen a Buddha. They just have blessings. They have lots of money and they enjoy their blessings. Okay? There's no reason for them to cultivate. In our world here on Earth, people have just enough suffering to make them want to do something else, and just enough blessings, to keep them going. The Buddha had once said in the Vimalakirti Nirdesa Sutra, the Buddha was confronted by some other cultivators, and they said, Amitabha has his pure land. The medicine Buddha has his pure land. Where's the Sakyamuni Buddha pure land? I'm putting it in a more comical way, but basically saying, where's the Sakyamuni Buddha pure land? Huh? Is it 10,508 billion miles in this direction? Is it over here? And he looks at them and goes, it's right here. This is my pure land, Earth. And they're like, what? This place is disgusting. You got all the turbidities here. Everything is just terrible. You got people stuck with afflictions, heavy karma here, evil, turbid karma over there. You got people enjoying desire, lust, and all this stuff. And you got people who have money, people who don't have money, people who are suffering with sicknesses, people who don't have it, people who are envious. You have all these things. How is this? Why is this your pure land? He goes, because you only see what you have the capacity to see, basically, he's saying. And he lifts up, I believe he lifted up his hand or lifted up his foot. And he goes, take a look. And he showed them what the actual true world looked like. And they go, oh my. And I believe they prostrated, they bowed to him. And they go, we had no clue. Why don't you let us see it? How are you controlling it? He goes, not that I'm controlling it, it's that you only can see what you have the capability to see. But I make sure that in my pure land, there is exactly enough suffering to go around to keep people on their toes. Don't get too lazy. I give them just enough. I leave the illusion of just enough suffering. It's not that he controls our world. It's not that. It's that this world is the Sakyamuni Buddha's pure land. Our earth, this is part of his pure land. Okay? And that means that all the things that we experience, he can directly straight up and go, here's the method and go cultivate. And you can attain your enlightenment. But he can't give that to you. Why? Because he can't make you enlightened. He can give you the methods to cultivate. And that's the reasoning on the makeup of this whole entire mannerism, this whole entire relative structure of our world. I mean, now we're going to go into the deeper constructs of things, and people are going to have problems with that. So, I'm going to stay a little bit far away from that aspect. But just to say this, in Sakyamuni Buddha's Pure Land, there is just enough suffering to keep you on your toes, and there's just enough blessings to keep you going. Keep you going, meaning not to make you feel too
Jump
basically
off
just
a cliff
having
or something.
pretty much. I mean, there's people who have no money whatsoever. Sakyamuni Buddha didn't do that to them, and they're poor as hell, living in the streets day by day, getting bits of food they can, but they still have the blessings to have the bits of food they can. Unfortunately, it's not people say, well, that's not a compassionate thing to say, but the reality is that's the conditions they face. So when people say, oh, you say this things and that thing, and it's not very compassionate, I was like, no, that's the superficial false thinking mind that says, if it's compassionate, it has this way of acting. Sorry, no. So when you realize the conditions of certain things, you'll understand why true compassion is manifest. So in our world, adversity is the key. Adversity is the expedient means. Someone gives you a nice meal today, a nice meal for the next 20 years, you're not going to sit there wondering how you're going to grow your own food or how you're going to cook, are you? Only when that day when that person is not there to cook for you will you sit there and go, how the hell did they do that? I got to eat. I'm starving. And then you realize how to make scrambled eggs. Right? And you realize how to make toast and how to butter your bread and how to make a cup of coffee, instant coffee. You realize how to do that when you are without. All of a sudden you have, all of a sudden you don't. And now you figure out means. You use it as a way to figure out how to do it. That's using adversity. So all those people go, oh, I'm going to go to a temple, I'm going to practice. And you go to a temple and the monks are sitting there reading a newspaper. They're smoking a cigarette, or they're lying down, sleeping on the floor outside, enjoying the cool breeze and the hot summer air. What the hell? They're not practicing. Who said they're not practicing? Who knows? Do you know? You're not practicing. You're criticizing. Go and practice. Why are you there criticizing this monk and that monk? Who is anyone to say this person is such and such a way? They can't, because they're not that way anyway. They're not the way they claim a person should be. So how can one go and criticize? So in our own mind, we can utilize adversity by recognizing how we do things, and how we react to what we face or what conditions arise. You could be sitting in meditation, and all of a sudden the car goes by and starts beeping the horn really loud and breaks your concentration. You can sit there and go, "Oh, that's so annoying." Or you can sit there and realize you got moved by the horn being honked, and you need to just work a little harder. So you go right back to doing what you're doing after you broke out of your concentration. It wasn't deep enough concentration. That's why you got jumped out of it. So you broke out of it. So you got to go a little deeper. That means there's still subtle attachments to views of a self. You may not realize that you have views of self, but because something has disrupted your concentration, that means you still have a you that hears. There still is a you that is being affected. So that subtle attachment is still there. Still got to work harder. Every single thing in our daily lives is used, and I said it 3 or 4 times already, as an expedient means to what? If you're a cultivator, it's an expedient means to opening your wisdom, being a more virtuous person. If you're just somebody who goes, well, I'm not a cultivator, and that means, really going hardcore, what they would consider quote unquote hardcore, meditating, sticking to certain things, or whatever. But I want to deal with, the usual things around me that I find really annoying. How do I deal with that just as a normal, not cultivator kind of person? It's very simple. Just recognize your views on those things. How do you associate to those things? Someone calls you a moron. How do you sit there and go, oh, how do I react to that? Are you really a moron? And does it really matter what other people are going to think of you as? I mean, really, if they think of you not as a moron, excuse my way, but I'm being very, in our talks here at the Expedient Means Show, I'm not very fluffy with the way I talk. I speak in a way that we all communicate on, So, people are like, oh, how is someone, a cultivator, talking like that? Sorry, I purposely talk this way, because if I talk in the nice, calm manner, and we've all seen that. We've been there, done that. We've seen that, and we heard those ways before, and we still have the views we have. So when we talk in a more straight up way, it could be like, yeah, that does make sense. Maybe it could be. That's the means I utilize. So anyway, you sit there and wonder, am I a moron? And if people don't think I'm a moron, am I going to get any benefit? Oh yeah, people will be nice to me. But there's other people who believe me to not be a moron who treat me nice. Why do I need to have 10 more people treat me nice when I already have 5 people treat me nice? Why do I need 500 more people to treat me nice when I already have 20 people who treat me nice? I mean, if I have 500 friends who treat me nice, there's a lot of people I got to say hello to every single day I walk through the streets and answer my phone. That's going to be quite annoying. And at that point, if that actually does occur, you use that as a means for cultivation too. Okay, but I'm trying to pick out the small ideas. Everything from the most life-threatening situation, most annoying, crazy government aspects and how government treats us and whatnot. Use all of it. I mean, adversity, in this show, I really want to talk about that aspect too. People are always concerned about their government. And, the government does this behind our backs and does that behind our backs. And then we have someone who leaks out information and the government goes after them. And and then there's this information of us going into martial law in America and other countries going through their riots and all this. How do we deal with that? I'm so angry. I hate this and I hate that and I hate this way of the government. I hate this president. I hate that president. I don't like this person and that organization or that company and whatever. How do you deal with life when you have these views? You're just carrying anger all day long. When in truth, from the day you were born all the way up to the point you felt so fed up with the whole entire way government runs, okay, you actually had a job, maybe many, Maybe at one point you had none. Maybe you had no money whatsoever and no luck whatsoever, or no kind of situation to let you have any type of work. All I'm saying is, general speaking, you had money, you've had a job to a degree, you had some education, your life went on pretty well, and there were no troops running in the street asking for your ID, shooting you down when you're driving in your car. So far, that hasn't happened, thankfully. But you should be grateful. Oh, wait, I've been all worried all this whole time, and none of that has ever happened in my neighborhood, in my country yet. I mean, I've got pissed by certain little things. The police do this, and the government did that, and this politician that, and this. But what are you doing to change that, really? Arguing and screaming in the street is not going to change it. No, if so, it would have happened already.
Yeah, but would you say creating awareness
Awareness is
good,
one
or
thing. Awareness is very important. Without awareness, you won't be aware of the adversity. You won't know. You'll blindly go through your days. It's like the person who's sitting in meditation and a mosquito flies around them and they just start waving their hands in front of their face to get the mosquito away for 30 minutes, and then they're done with their meditation. They had no clue. They didn't do anything whatsoever to benefit themselves in cultivation except waving their hands at a mosquito that they could not tell if it was there or not. So it's just like that. People going throughout their lives have no clue that they're facing something that can hurt them. Okay? It's good to let them know, wait, you got a bee walking on your shoulder. It's ready to sting you. I didn't know that, really? Well, I can't see it. I don't feel it. It's not there. You're lying to me. You just want to get something out of me. You just want to get me to think I'm stupid, or make me believe I'm stupid, or make me let you think I'm stupid. That's how most people think. You tell them the truth and they don't believe it. But when they get stung, they go, "Oh my God, you were right. Now what do I do?" Now you got to go and get that stinger out of you. And if you're allergic to bee stings, that's a bigger problem. Okay, so
some people just have to learn the hard
some
way, I
people just
guess.
have to learn with the big slap in the head, you
Yeah.
know? And we have to think, changing our views about how things are with politics. Just because things are the way they are and we just may not like it, doesn't mean that we can take it for another teaching. I mean, if we're born in the world where we have corruption all over the place in our governments, then that's the karma we have to deal with. Why are we going to hold on anger here and there when we're not doing anything to change the actual situation? We got to change it in ourselves first. Change your views about it. How are you going to utilize the loss of freedom and the workings of the Patriot Act and other things that go on behind our backs in our government? How do you use that to make your life better and inform other people without making them go crazy all over the place, screaming and yelling in the streets? Why would you scream and yell in the streets? It doesn't get anything done. The government goes, "Oh, more crazy people, go arrest them." You want the government to hear you? Get more educated, become a politician. You don't think you can get anywhere? Try it. When enough people start following that route, and there's enough more of the people who have information or who believe in the more righteous way of living get into politics, then there's going to be less of the problems we don't like. But if we're just people running around in the streets protesting, it brings awareness to people, but it don't get media coverage, so we're fighting an endless war. We're fighting something that no one's winning. Eventually, more and more people will get accustomed to that way, and then we'll get more media coverage by grassroots.
There's an old saying too that the society will get the government it deserves, right?
Exactly.
So if people have this government now, then that's because that's where people's mindset is at this point in time,
Exactly.
for good or ill.
The grass does not tell the oak tree or any tree how much water to drink. That's likened to us people, civilians, the regular people in the streets, okay, in our homes, paying our taxes if you choose to, telling the government to not use my money, not use the tax-paying money. Oh, I don't like you doing this. I want you to change. Yeah, well, you know what? I'm in a position that you're not. The tree goes, "I'm drinking all the water I need. That's sufficient enough for my body," and the grass drinks enough that's sufficient enough for itself, and they grow accordingly, and they go right accordingly. We are like that. If we want to change into the tree, or in this case, we want to change into a politician, we want to change our country, become a politician. Go from studying liberal arts to studying political science. Go into study psychology, go into study sociology, okay, history, and understand, and don't just make it your point to not get taken by lobbyists and don't get taken because of money. They'll say, I can make more money if I just decide not to stand up for what I believed in.
Well, if people cultivate, wisdom and mindfulness,
It's patience,
uh,
Vince.
that's all they really need. Because if you cultivate those things, you're not gonna be taken by lies and corruption and
Right.
deceit.
I mean, here, we all make a big deal about GMO crops. Everyone's going ape crazy about GMO crops now, which is good. Don't let that take all our food, and don't let us eat, all these crazy foods. Here's an adverse situation for us. How are we going to awaken to the complete truth with this kind of situation? Very simple. Don't go to where there's GMO foods. Very simple. It's hard to do. The idea is simple. Um, it's hard to do because it may get frustrating. Maybe in your area, it's very far away. But you know what? If you don't eat a little bitter, if you don't take a little pain, you're not getting anywhere. Cultivation, if you don't suffer a little bit, you're not ending your suffering. So if you got to drive 2 hours to a store that just sells organic, non-GMO products, then do it if you want your deed done. If you have to cook your own food instead of taking a quick meal and go to McDonald's, and you're like, oh, I got to prepare my food for 40 minutes and I got to cook it and whatnot. Oh, I don't want to do this. I'll waste 2 hours of my life. Sure, you waste 2 hours of your life, but the more time GMOs are out there, the more pain and suffering is going to cause on a lot of people. So your 2 hours sacrifice to eat healthier would save a lot more people down the line. So you change the adverse situation instead of going crazy. Oh, I don't like this. Well, what am I going to do? Oh my God. Okay, I give up and I'm just going to go and eat whatever I can find. Instead of doing that, you change it around and go, okay, they're giving me this obstacle. I'm going to go the other way. Until all the crops are GMO and no one else can find organic, non-chemical induced products, then I have no choice but to eat it. Or maybe I could just grow my own food. Somehow find seeds and grow my own food. Or cultivate and not have to eat food. you know? So you can take adverse situations and cultivate to become better. Cultivate to become a better person, not full of anger. I mean, really. Laws are laws because people want to control others. And then there's laws that say you should really do certain things, and if you do those things, that's it. You take the adverse situation of laws that make no sense whatsoever to common sense, let alone the natural order of the way the world, the way nature is. Not human nature, not animal nature. I'm talking about the nature of compassion, the nature of our original mind. Okay? So laws aren't set that way. So how do we utilize the narrow to become extremely free? How do we utilize that which chains us down to be experiencing the freedom that we have within us? How do we do that? It's very simple. You use them. Oh, I can't do A, B, and C. I really want to do A, B, and C. Oh, I can't deal with it. I really want to do. You got to cultivate. You got to find. Why do I really, really, truly believe I need to do A, B, and C? And how is me doing A, B, and C going to benefit everyone else around me first? That's so important to ask. Because once we find out, we realize we don't really have to do A, B, and C. We could do, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. You could do everything else you want.
Yeah, and to come back to that point about, GMOs, if you want to avoid GMOs and you want to avoid chemicals in your food, just cooking your own food, you can look at it as a chore, or you can just change your views about cooking your own food and look at it as, a labor of love, or even a cultivation practice in and of itself.
Yes, it can be a cultivation practice cooking food. How you cut your vegetables, how you chop them up, how you prepare your salads, how you prepare your meats, how you prepare everything else. All a way of being mindful of what you're doing. Let's say, oh, chopping these carrots is so hard. The carrot is so hard. It's so damn annoying. I almost cut my finger. Well, just be more careful. Don't get angry of your inability. Just be more careful. Or get a tool that cuts the carrots much safer and easier. I mean, it's just very simple. And people who don't have money, it's another situation. We could be here for a longer time discussing on how to overcome these kind of mental states of despair. Okay? Sometimes we have to accept the reality that karma does exist, whether we believe it or not. And that things we've done in the past, whether we assume them to be good or not, will reap an outcome, whether we like it or not. And we have to take responsibility for it all the time.
So I guess again, It seems like all of our talks at the end always come
It
back to
does.
mindfulness,
It
right?
does. It does. I mean, that's the overall foundational practice. Then there's other practices we do with mindfulness as its foundation to boost us up, to keep going further. Yeah,
All right. Well,
I think we're good.
yeah, hit the hour mark. So,
Wow.
do you have any other closing thoughts, or was that pretty well
Well, it's
covered?
pretty well covered. I would like to just say, um, just drag it on a little bit more.
That's all
um,
right.
no matter what, as a cultivator, you will face a whole bunch of obstacles, whether it's your own internal thinking, your own inner obstacles, your own karma, your own sicknesses, or it's people doing them to you, causing problems for you. How you utilize those problems is going to create your next phase or your next state. Usually it's what you feel you cannot change, what you feel you cannot get away from, that's what you have to cultivate. You have to face it. So the most annoying thing in your life that you find so strongly wrong, you feel so strong about it, so wrong, and you can't get rid of it, that's the thing you have to welcome in and face it and make mistakes. As a cultivator, if you're not making mistakes, you're not getting anywhere. You have to recognize what you do. Turn the demon spotting mirror on yourself. Find your demons, find your mistakes, and then wash it clean. Just because maybe a person 20 years ago did something wrong, 20 years down the line, they obviously are not that way any longer. They changed their mind, their behavior is totally different. But people from those time period who you affected still see you as being, or see the person as being the way they were 20 years ago. Ah, you're no good, you're this, you're that, you're stupid, you're retarded, you're not the way you are, you're not the way you truly are now, this is just all an act or whatever. Um, you have to realize that people are not going to be on your level. And it's what's the word, irrelevant. What people think of you, it's how you think yourself to be. And also when people think of you to be a certain way, or how people treat you, or depending on the experiences you experience, whether walking the street, almost get hit by a car, or losing all your money, going bankrupt, or whatever the case is, what have you done to those people? What have you done with yourself? What have you done with your mind to have these situations manifest? Then you change it. You change it by recognizing the origin of it. You change it by understanding it's your own views that cause things. And then that's it. And you're living a more happier, wholesome, more pure so-called lifestyle, be it 20 years later down the line, you're much more, way different than you were 20, 30 years ago. And people still want to say you're a certain way. Well, it's irrelevant. It's, yeah, fine. Say whatever you want. No big deal. I'm not that way. I live with me. I don't live with you. You don't live with me either. You don't pay my bills. You don't make me food. You don't service me. You don't do anything. I service myself. I do it all myself. You don't like the way I am now. Who cares? I don't hurt people. I change. If you hurt people before, I don't hurt people now. I totally change. This is look at my friends now. Look at all the community I have. You have a good community of friends. You have a good community of people that reflects who you are. So when you're feeling worried of other people saying you're such and such, or you're going the wrong way, or whatever in cultivation, or as you are living your daily life, understand they're small in terms of majority and minority. There's a small portion of people in your life. The majority of people will reflect to you the kind of person you are and how the kind of person you radiate, the kind of energy you radiate. Okay? Very important.
It's fun. It's funny because the whole time this conversation's been going on, there's been a fly that's been buzzing around my head trying to drive me
And you're like, where's my
insane.
fly swatter?
Yeah.
Or you just pull out a straw and just suck it in and eat it, don't you?
No, my cat might do that though. He's
Fun.
fond of it.
Fun. So yeah,
But
there you
anyhow,
go. I've had my experiences with this before. I'm only 33 years old. When I was much younger, say from 11 years old, when I made it my thing to be a cultivator for the rest of my life, this is the path I'm going. I made it the thing I have to do. Face every single problem out there known to man that I am equipped to face. or equipped to take. And I've done, as a young teenager, done things that I know now I would rather not do. I would not have done. But I've done it, I experienced it, I've cultivated it, utilized it in a way, and changed certain behaviors. And my late teens, the same thing. In my 20s and mid 20s, into my almost 30 years old, there were still other facets that I tweaked here and there, because just because you do or say you follow a certain path doesn't mean you have attained. Those people saying, "Oh, I'm Buddhist," okay, and they do nothing wrong. It doesn't mean just because you're Buddhist means you're enlightened. Just because you say you're a Taoist makes you on the path of immortality or on the path of entering the Tao. That doesn't go hand in hand. Okay, you have to cultivate it, make the mistakes, look at yourself, rip it apart, find the origin, change your views, and change your habits, and go along your way. And everything from the path that kind of was your obstacle before, you don't need to hold it anymore, because there's no conditions for those things in your life, unless you sit there and go, crazy, crazy. Now you're welcoming it back in, or you never really truly got rid of it in the first place. So you have to work hard and welcome obstacles, welcome these adversities, and use it as your friend. Take it and hold it close. Use it as a mirror for yourself. Reflect upon you. Wipe the mirror clean here and there. Then you'll come to the realization that there's no mirror. And then, no matter what happens to you, doesn't matter. But you need the cultivation for it. So you need to make mistakes. Who knows? I'm 33 years old at the time now. I may 15 years later find more mistakes that I've gone through from this point today doing recording, all up till 15 years later. And there's other things I'll have to change too, because that's the point of cultivation. So don't think too hard on yourself. You're cultivating, you got problems, good. That's good. Take those problems and work it. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, I really wanted to kill that fly, but I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to open the window and take the screen and let him fly out.
You see how nice that is? You see, that's beautiful. Yeah. Adversity turns into, let me just be a little bit more patient. Well, it takes me 5 minutes, not even. Open the window, take the screen out, usher the fly to fly out the window. You have fun, play a little game with the fly, chasing him around until he gets near the window. There you go. And you get a little exercise, you have a little fun with, oh, I'm a little stupid, I'm chasing the damn fly. and you feel giddy and you feel happy about it, and it's something you can tell your wife, your girlfriend, or your significant other. Everyone can do that too, Have a little problem going on and just have fun with it. And use it to reflect back on yourself.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us again, Lynn.
Oh, yeah.
And,
great.
I'll close with the usual closing here. And
really? That's so boring. Oh, my God. Can you change it? Come on.
I didn't have time to look up a good Arnold quote for this one.
Oh, wait. Let me let me check back. Why am I being frustrated with the same thing over and over again? That's what you do.
An Arnold quote.
Oh, no. An Arnold quote. Oh, no.
All right.
Great.
So, thank you everybody for listening to Expedient Means with Lin Wei and Time Monk Radio. Please be sure to join us next week as we continue our commentary on the Tao Te Ching. And to quote the final chapter of the Tao Te Ching, the sage does not accumulate. The more he assists others, the more he possesses. The more he gives to others, the more he gains.